In blackest day or brightest night, watermelon, cantaloupe, yada yada, a superstitious and cowardly lot, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, what's up everyone? KS here. Lanterns has just dropped their first episode titled Pilot, and here are my thoughts. What if you took the Green Lantern, one of the most cosmic characters in all DC Comics, and turned him into the star of a dark HBO murder mystery? Well, that's what Lanterns is trying to do. The first episode, simply titled Pilot, has officially premiered, and after watching it, I have a few thoughts. I think DC may have something really special here. The Green Lantern show that comic book fans were expecting, instead of immediately taking us across the universe, introducing us to dozens of aliens, and giving us giant Green Lantern space battles, Lantern starts someplace much more grounded: a murder. And two Green Lanterns are trying to figure out what happened. So today, I'm going to talk about the first episode. Performances of Kyle Chandler and Aaron Pierre, the mystery the show is setting up, most importantly, comic book connections and the greater DCU implications that are hidden in this episode. And yes, full spoilers are going to be happening in this video. One of the first things that surprised me about Lanterns is just how it feels very little like the traditional superhero show. The show clearly wants to be a crime thriller first and a Green Lantern story second, and honestly, I think that's the smart decision. Creators have described the series as a grounded interpretation of the Green Lantern mythology, drawing heavily from the crime and detective genre, rather than just immediately recreating the anonymous cosmic scale of the comics. You can feel that influence immediately. There's a true detective vibe here that is unmistakable. Not just the fact that this is made by the same studio that made True Detective, but it's small town America, a mysterious death, people hiding secrets, characters who don't completely trust each other, and underneath it all, something isn't quite human. That's what makes this episode work for me. Because the Green Lantern mythology is sitting underneath this story like a ticking time bomb. Talking about Hal Jordan and Kyle Chandler's performance, his version of Hal is very different than the version we've seen before.
Green!
This isn't the cocky, young Hal that you saw Ryan Reynolds portray in the 2011 movie. Thank goodness. This is an older, veteran, world-weary Hal Jordan. Someone who has clearly been doing this job for a long time, been around the block, and been around the universe. And you can tell he's tired. Hal feels like a man who has spent years seeing things that normal humans were never meant to see and can never imagine. He's seen aliens, he's traveled through space, he's dealt with the Green Lantern Corps, and now he's being asked to train someone who is essentially his replacement, which has never happened before in the Green Lantern mythology. That's where the relationship between Hal and John becomes really interesting, because Hal isn't necessarily a bad mentor, he's just a reluctant one. And that gives Chandler a lot more to play with than simply just being the Green Lantern guy and being the older cop to the younger cop. Talking about Jon Stewart and Aaron Pierre's performance, I think it's possibly the best casting decision, not just in the show, but outside of David Corenswet as Superman and Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. I think is the best casting we've seen in the DCU thus far. For the first time, we're finally getting a live-action Jon Stewart interpretation. Though I don't think Diggle was a stand-in in Arrow, basing on the last scenes of the Arrowverse shows. And no, I don't think Diggle was a stand-in for the last scenes that we saw in Arrow Season 7. This is true, proper Jon Stewart. John's been one of the more prominent and recognizable Green Lanterns for decades. First appearing back in Green Lantern number 78 in 1971, he's also become incredibly popular to my generation as one of the stars of one of the best anime series of all time, Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, and multiple DC movie appearances. I think Aaron Pierre actually looks the part, and understands the importance of this character. And what's interesting is that this John isn't presented as a fully formed superhero. He's learning, he's a trainee. He's only been on the job 2 months. He's trying to understand this world, and he's being thrown into a partnership with Hal Jordan, a man with decades more experience that is reluctant to actually show him the ropes. And that's just really clever in a way to introduce John to the audience. Okay, so now let's actually talk about what happens in the show. This episode in the pilot revolves around a strange death in rural Nebraska. At first it looks like a normal crime scene, but Hal quickly realizes something is up, and that's where the episode starts slowly opening the door to the larger Green Lantern mythology. The important thing is the show doesn't immediately explain everything. Instead, we're asking the same questions John's asking. What happened? Why does it appear to be some extraterrestrial threat? And what does this seemingly small town murder have to do with Hal Jordan? And how did he know about this 10 years previously? Now, I'm truly not a big fan of stories skipping around, but I think the way that's used in the pilot and how we're probably going to see it used throughout the series actually does add a lot of weight to it. And especially skipping ahead to the ending, I think it does add a lot of dramatic weight and shows the great writing that we do have on this show. So the episode jumps forward from 2016 to 2026, and we discover that Hal Jordan is actually dead. John finds Hal's body, but his Green Lantern ring is missing. And that's one hell of a way to end the episode, because how did Hal Jordan die? That's a great mystery. And that to me was one of the best parts of this episode, was the ending, because it gives us more questions than we had than when we started. The showrunners have already emphasized that the mystery surrounding Hal's fate is an important part of the series, and Kyle Chandler himself even discussed how shocking it was to read that. Personally, I don't think the show wants us to simply accept that Hal's fate is over. Mind you, earlier in this episode, we were told that there are about 14 other species of aliens that can completely camouflage their identity down to a microscopic level that x-rays and blood tests wouldn't be able to discern them from the other person. And I think that is our clue that this is actually not Hal Jordan. Now let's talk about a couple of the Easter eggs. One of the coolest things about Lanterns is it isn't trying to directly adapt one specific tale from the Green Lantern comic book lore. Instead, the creators are pulling elements from the larger mythology and putting them into a completely different kind of story. And I think that's important. This isn't simply, here's Green Lantern comic, whatever, that HBO just recreated. It's more like, hey, let's take the mythology and build a prestige drama around it, which, basing on that this is kind of going all the way back to around 2018, 2019 from the previous, or maybe two previous DC leaderships, this was always pitched as Green Lantern meets True Detective season 1 pretty much. And that's always been the great hook for me, because if you're not going to have the budget to do a $300 million TV show that's just Green Lantern in space shooting space lasers out of his ring, this is a interesting concept that really boils down to one of the more unseen aspects of the Green Lantern, that they are essentially space cops, the passing of the torch. And I think that's a great idea. What we see in the comics is that Earth Sector 2814 has multiple Green Lanterns: Hal Jordan, John Stewart, Kyle Rayner, Guy Gardner, Simon Baz, multiple Green Lanterns that have been here. But for the story that they're conducting inside the DCU, it looks like this is the first time we've had multiple Green Lanterns on one planet. And from some of the things that Hal says, he almost feels like it was an accident that he was chosen as an Earthling, because what he says, the Guardians basically say that humans were never meant to be part of the Green Lantern Corps because we are so primal and just so low on the totem pole in the universe as a whole. And that's where things actually get pretty interesting for me, because Lanterns isn't just simply another DC show. This is part of the DCU that has been started by James Gunn, and we've already seen a Green Lantern mythology introduced by Guy Gardner, played by Nathan Fillion, in James Gunn's Superman last year. Now, we knew that this was a Green Lantern. Some things were said in the film, but it didn't dive into the greater Green Lantern mythos. And I think that's the good part about this show, is this is the one that actually gives us everything we'll need to know about the DCU's version of the Green Lantern Corps. James Gunn had previously explained that Lanterns is going to be important to the larger DCU storyline, and the two concepts have already started to be introduced elsewhere, particularly in Checkmate and Salvation, which you see in Peacemaker Season 2, resolved as of yet. So one thing that I am hoping for is that we will get some type of connection with that series, being that that was one of the last things that we saw with one of the marquee shows that we had seen with the DCU so far, being that that was James Gunn's project before he even got the role as the head of DC Studios. If you had no idea who the Green Lantern Corps was, if you'd never heard about them, and this was your introduction, I don't think this is a bad introduction to the Green Lantern Corps. Because we got a grounded murder mystery happening in rural Nebraska, and we have space cops here, I think the Green Lantern mythology can play in a good way, that where you don't have to just over explain everything, and we can be fed the new mythology of the Green Lantern Corps episode by episode to really pack it in, and it doesn't feel like we're getting too much too soon. It doesn't feel like it's desperately trying to convince us it's the new superhero show that we should be watching. Instead, it wants us to care about these characters. And I'm going to say it now, Kyle Chandler and Aaron Pierre have amazing chemistry. Hal is cynical and experienced, John is younger and just trying to figure things out, but is actually putting 100% effort into it. And that's what creates natural conflict. I also like the decision to make this feel like a mystery, because the Green Lantern has always had a weird combination of science fiction, superhero mythology, police procedural, and comic fantasy. Lanterns is leaning heavily into the police procedural side, which for somebody who is a Green Lantern fan is something I don't necessarily think when I read a Green Lantern comic. And I like the fact that they're paying attention to one of the facets of the character that hasn't been explored previously. Few concerns, as no show is perfect. If you're coming into this show expecting a lot of Green Lantern action, well, you're going to be disappointed in the first episode. If you're coming in this episode expecting to see a lot of green, you're going to be a little disappointed in this episode. Because the first episode is surprisingly restrained. There is a lot of talking, a lot of investigating, a lot of character development, and that's actually fine with me because I do know this is the first episode. Granted, we know this is only going to be an 8-episode season, so this does lend it to be one of those start everything in episode 1. I hope episodes 2 and 3 do continue to ratchet up the tension, and I do honestly hope it does land better than Peacemaker Season 2. I do want to see the Green Lantern world. I want to see the Guardians of Oa. I want to see the Corps. I want to see aliens. I want to see other Green Lanterns, and I want to see just how big this universe is, and not just keep everything in one small town.
Write this down. M-A-R-S, Mars, bitches. That's where we are going. Mars, Red Rocks. Yay.
Lanterns made a very smart decision by not immediately overwhelming the audience with Green Lantern mythology, space battles, special effects, and let it be a true character-driven story. It gives us two honestly great compelling characters and a murder mystery. Kyle Chandler's Hal Jordan feels worn down but still dangerous. Aaron Pierre's John Stewart feels like someone who could eventually become the heart of this entire franchise. And my God, that ending. Finding Hal dead, frozen, and his ring is missing is exactly the way you end an episode like this. It truly has me hooked, and I'm glad we're getting these week to week. What is the bigger mystery here? Is it what's going on in 2016? Is it just Hal Jordan's death? How are these two connected? Why is John, 10 years removed, still not a Green Lantern? This introduces a lot of questions that need to be answered, and I'm all for it. Well, if I'm giving this episode a rating, I'm gonna say this is an 8.5 out of 10. No, it's not perfect, but after the disappointing history of live action Green Lantern adaptations,
goddamn, that's beautiful. You're welcome, Canada.
After Supergirl, I think DC needed a win, and I think this is their win. I can't wait to see the next episode, and I hope you come back to hear my thoughts on it. Make sure you follow me wherever you're following this on. Make sure you like, sharing, subscribing, sharing this content out to the type of people you know that like this type of content. I've been Chaos. You've been awesome. Nerd responsibly.